Hi, everyone. Thank God it's Friday afternoon again and time for the Green Rush Live show from the Boston, Massachusetts area. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of the Pro Cannabis Media content because we're getting bigger and bigger guests. And I bring in Christopher Smith from the American Cannabis Report as my co-host today. And Christopher, good to see you, sir.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you? Good to see you.
Good. As always, a busy week in the world of cannabis. We got the jobs report from Leafly, and we had an incredible move in the New York State area where that state basically offered all the hemp farmers an opportunity to jump right into the cannabis THC world with no other paperwork, which is, I think, a really cool thing. The farmers there are extremely excited, and we'll be talking with one a little bit later on this show because we are going to be focused on the world of hemp. But first, we're going to be talking about the world of cannabis MSOs, and we're so proud to have a CEO of AUSA and Audacious. His name is Terry Booth. He's not the first time he's been on this show. So Terry, again, welcome back to Green Rush Live.
Thanks, Jimmy. Interesting you're talking about hemp. That's the reason I was within minutes of being late for this call. I was on a 2-hour call with the hemp company in New York. So we're all over that. It's an amazing development. It's something that they worked hard on, that farmer community of hemp, and it's passed. It's real, and it's going to be exciting for a first mover advantage in New York State.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad that you were glad you're familiar with that. Of course you are. You're the CEO of a major company. Is New York getting it right, Terry?
To be known, right? We've got the final regulation, not the final, the first draft regulation, which is normally the final. Once they put out a draft reg, there's not many changes that you see after. Legislation is done. It's anticipated that comes out in 2 weeks. They certainly want to do the right thing. You know, we've been doing our best to try to help, if you will, with any of the regs, and all companies try and do that. And it gives you some insight into what they're up to and timing of New York State. But the beautiful thing is it's going adult usage, man. And it's not far away. New Jersey's there as well. And, it's a population center, and it's going to be a significant amount of cannabis that trades hands in an adult usage market in New York State. So it's another huge step for the cannabis space in America.
That's great. And Christopher, I know you're familiar with this. It seems that whenever new states come on board, introduce adult use cannabis, they run out really fast. So this is why the New York people decided, the legislature decided this would be a good time to actually get cannabis on the shelves. I'm guessing you believe that's a good move too, right?
Well, sure. It allows them to sort of stock up and have the stores be ready for opening day and for opening week and month. Really, if they had to start at square one and then try to catch up, of course, they would be way behind. So strategically for the first period, of course, it's a good move.
And Terry, what's the latest on Audacious? You seem to be always growing and acquiring and booming. Tell me what's happening.
Well, it's a good testament to this management team. I've not been here a year yet, joined them on March 9th. And in that 1 year, we've gone from only being in Nevada doing $28,000 a quarter to being in Nevada, California, Missouri, working with a group in Massachusetts, obviously all over what's happening in New York, and looking at creative deals to do. The Loos deal is wrapped up. The herb deal is almost wrapped up in Cali. We're selling product in California in a good way. We're selling everything we can put on the shelves. So it is a matter of getting product, and the way to get product is either to grow it or acquire it. We're doing both, and that expansion is in process. We finally nailed down some, financing. It wasn't big, but it keeps us rolling along in the same strategy that we have. Certainly, we're waiting for rules to change in the States. I think every cannabis company is. It'd be nice to be able to deduct your expenses from your revenues like regular business folks, and it would be nice to bank. Right. And that's all coming. I said before, I think on the interview, Jimmy, that we take our hats off to the U.S. cannabis space on how they've managed to continue the wave, to continue to grow, to continue to make state by state better. Sure, there's been some, screw ups along the way. Some of the social equity wasn't done like it was meant to be done in some of the states. You're seeing that. But, when you mention New York, is it going to be a good system? They're certainly trying to correct any previous mistakes that may have been made in, in the social equity piece and in the, well, you see with the hemp farmers, letting them into the play. They had a terrible go of it, if you will, on the hemp side. The regulations weren't quite cut out or made what they expected to be doing with CBD derived from hemp. And guess why? I think you could look to the FDA a little bit, not approving the ingestible, even though World Health Organization said it was cool. But then the FDA has been pretty busy with this COVID thing. So it's a bunch of different factors still lead to growth. It's still moving forward, and I applaud the U.S. cannabis space for doing that, and a bunch of great entrepreneurs and good folk.
We're trying here. Christopher, I'm going to allow you to ask Terry a direct question because I know you are really good at that.
I think that's a great point, Terry. I think it's so important for us to recognize that we're in the middle of this great development of this. We're not at the end looking backwards. We're not in a mature industry looking backwards. We're in the very beginning stages. The Leafly report just came out this week. And I thought that the jobs numbers, for example, were very interesting. It showed that the cannabis jobs have increased 30% since last year. It's now there are more workers in cannabis than a great number of more industries. Three times more than dentists. I read things like that. But I thought that there was something very interesting in the report that was way back a little bit, which is that the economics group that did the research determined that the industry was really only about 25% on the legal side. So 75% of the industry still in the United States is still on the illicit side. So there's a huge way to go. What do you think about the opportunity going forward, and especially with your company?
On the gray market side, you're right. In California, you really see that, and it does affect the progress in California. California itself is difficult to navigate towards profitability unless you're in the multiple verticals, and then you pick your poison on the different municipalities, because then there's a different set of rules there.
Right.
But they also have the gray side of the market on the West Coast and in some of the interior states, and it's big. It's a big industry. And how do you transition from that one to the next? Some of the states are looking at bringing in, with open arms, those industry pioneers, I like to call them. Passing that baton is an important transition. Being part of the community culture, respecting that as a company is important, in my opinion. That's what we're all about. But to hear those numbers, doesn't it make you smile? How we're affecting
Absolutely.
in a positive way. And I imagine some other statistics have gone down, like opiate usage as well. We've certainly seen that in the medical system in Canada. Proof positive, like not something we're saying, we've proven it. So you take the medical systems, the adult usage systems. Not everybody is driving into the back of cars either. Everybody,
right.
all the fear factors that went into
right.
the stigma related to cannabis are waning. They're going
Sure.
away, and the acceptance of it is amazing. And I love to see those economic numbers, because that's what your Politico will listen to. Employed people contributing to the bottom line at the tax house. Important stuff. So
Sure.
it's all great stuff, and I'm glad Leafly puts out those type of reports. I haven't read it. I'm embarrassed. I've got to get on that type of stuff and be better at it. But it sounds great.
Yeah, it just came out, and there are those high-level bullet points about the number of jobs and the percentages and how many more hairstylists and dentists, and those things are novelty. They're interesting, cocktail talk and everything. But I think that the growth of the industry is so important. The other thing I think is interesting, you mentioned the FDA. And it seems to me that we have it's almost like the grown-ups are fighting, right? We have the FDA and the DEA, right? The Food and Drug Administration fighting to understand what should be allowed and to help protect the health of people. And we have the Drug Enforcement Administration fighting for their own budget, fighting to keep their slice, fighting to keep down cannabis, et cetera, et cetera. That seems to be the battle
Well,
in the federal government here.
I got one more for you. The Department of Agriculture just came out with their hemp report this week too. So My question to Terry, I'm going to just take it right from you, Christopher. Great points.
Sure.
Where would you like to see this industry regulated? Should it be under one specific in the United States, whether that be the ABC, the DEA, or the DOA, which is Department of Agriculture? Where do you think it's going to end up on the federal side as far as regulations and governance?
God forbid it's not with the DEA.
Right.
Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
check off. I imagine FDA would be sort of where it should be. It is, especially when you get into the medical cannabis, that should be FDA, right? The Department
Right.
of
Yes.
Health and whatnot. Agriculture for sure. I mean, they're the ones that did this amazing thing with moving it from the CDSA hemp, CBD derived from hemp rather. Big step. America were the first to do it. And I think they put themselves at a distinct advantage, but there's just this lag in the FDA approving the ingestible. We did a deal in Southeast Asia with a group now where they've legalized the ingestible CBD. We're the first American or any North American company to do a deal with legal CBD with a group in Thailand. So it's moving forward in other countries, and America is going to be a little bit behind it if they don't get on this decision on the ingestible side of it. And that goes to the agricultural point you're making, Jimmy. I don't know what that report looks like. I don't imagine it looks that great for what went down in hemp, but that happens. Everybody ran to it. They're going to run back to their lentils. It is a difficult plant to grow. It's a difficult plant to harvest. If you've ever seen hemp get combined, I've certainly seen it in the food hemp industry. It's very, very tough plant. It's a thick stalk. You need special equipment. You don't want to be laying it in the dirt when you're going to be selling it for food. So it has to go onto conveyor system. So that equipment is in Lithuania, but it's not fully in America yet. And that really hurt with yields and then the price of CBD, right? Because CBD has still got a little bit of a cloak on it. It's not being widespread in the CPG industry. Everybody's confident in doing CBD topicals. You're not going to get busted for that. But to put it on the shelves of big box in a gummy, not there yet. To put it in a sport drink, not there yet. Is it around the corner? Hell yeah. And that's going to be a massive expansion of CBD. And at least the technology has caught up to some extent where they're able to totally remove THC. And that'll be a requirement when it goes mainstream in the CPG industry. But the THC industry as well, this adult usage, when you compare it to alcohol, for instance, or other illicit drugs, it's just so much safer. The only way you can get killed by cannabis if a bale drops out of an airplane on top of your head and snaps your neck. Those are important things. They may be fun to say, but they're true. And that's the movement, and that's why it's having success. Once the states are confident and they feel good, and it didn't wreck other states, these pioneer states that went at it, and Cali and the Colorados and Washingtons and whatnot, they're seeing nothing but benefits from having this as a part of their economy. A bit of a long question or a long answer to a short question, but I do see agriculture really taking over the hemp industry, and I do see hemp taking over CBD. I think that will be outside of the, let's call it the MSO space, where adult usage is the prime mover and certainly brings the bigger dollar. But CBD is going to be in demand, and it's going to make the farmers a lot happier. So I think you'll see that hemp report improve over time as CBD comes into mainstream.
We just started a show about growing called Calling All Growers. It's hosted by Liz Grow, High Times TV personality. And I've also gotten a crash course in sustainable cultivation. I was at a growing conference a few weeks ago that brought growers from Humboldt County, the Emerald Triangle, to the East Coast for the first time to talk about organic farming. Terry, what's your opinion, and what's the company's rulings about sustainable cultivation?
That's cool that you asked that. Maybe it's because you're having me today, but we're all over that. We're on top of that with our group from Alps, and it's not just with respect to cannabis. Sustainable environmental governance is a big thing right now on the planet, and it's an important thing that you reduce those footprints for when you're growing food, right? And it applies to cannabis as well, reducing that carbon footprint. Alps is doing deals in Dubai, in Iceland, and in America on the vertical grow for lettuce and tomatoes. I always use the example of growing a carrot on a farm in Mexico and shipping it to Alaska in a truck. And how much does that impact the environment, the diesel fuel that it's using? And when the carrot gets to Alaska, you could whip a horse with it. It's not a high quality vegetable. We can build a facility in Alaska that has the same price or similar pricing to what they're paying now for their import of produce, have a dramatically reduced environmental footprint, and be attractive to SEG companies like, the Blackstones and whatnot, who are all over this SEG space. So it's important for cannabis to jump on that bandwagon. It's important for organic growth to be out there. Organic is not only a great word, it's better tasting vegetables. I always espouse that with my wife. She's big on organics. You better eat them quick though, because the organics don't stay as long because they've zapped the shit out of the other vegetables that you're buying, but they taste better. And there's reasons for that. And it's not going away. What's it called? Genetically modified, GMO. Like, that's a swear word in Europe. GMO is just not something that happens. It's something you put in your mouth in Europe. And it's exactly. So I'm all over it. The Mr. Natural brand that Audacious has coming online. I think we've now got some products out there. It's all about organic growth. Bob Luciano, the Rastafarian priest, Vietnam War vet from the Bronx, amazing grower. He's grown cannabis longer than I've been alive, and he's an organic grower of cannabis, and mainly bases his cultivars and his products on veterans. He's a Vietnam War vet as well, and he's an organic grower, and it is a better plant, in my opinion. It's more expensive to grow that, but your connoisseurs love it, and certainly the profiles of those plants can be improved, and the way you grow organically can be improved, and it is. The guys are doing it out there, and the gals are doing it. So it's great that she has that show, and it's all about educating each other to put the best products forward as an industry.
Right. And she and I also had the opportunity to interview perhaps one of the most well-known farmers of cannabis in the world. He, of course, is known as an actor comedian, Jim Belushi, this week. And that was a thrill for me because I've always been a big fan of his. How important is it to have these kinds of names embrace the cannabis movement in the United States and Canada and the world?
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? The influencers. You have to have legit influencers for sure. Right. I mean, a lot of people will sell their name for the name, but it's important to have those types of organizations and people on board. The PBR, the Professional Bull Riders Association, that's an association. When you affiliate yourself with one individual, you do take a bit of a risk that individual might screw something up. But when you're affiliating yourselves with leagues and associations like the NFL and the NBA and those types of things, those are very impactful on the industry. Just look at what Canopy did back in the day when Constellation Brands came to the table, Corona, a large beverage company. So every little piece helps, and the Belushis and Snoop and those people who have put their name and reputations forward, God bless them. Hats off.
Hey, last question. I want to ask you about the emerging markets in Europe. What's going on there?
Well, look at very, very sad to see what's going on in Europe right now.
Well, needless to say, they're a little busy. They're not worried about cannabis. Although I got to tell you, Terry, what would be nice is if everybody would just put their weapons down and sit around and talk and maybe share a joint. That's not going to happen. I understand.
Yeah. Take it easy. Really take it easy.
Yeah.
UK, awesome. They've got a decent entry, both on the CBD side and the medical THC side. They've really taken the time to plan it. You see in Germany, stepping up the medical market. It's continuing to grow. Australia continuing to grow, not as fast as we thought when we were back in the day 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago at Aurora. I thought everybody would be on pace with Canada. They're not. It's a slower grow, but the fact is it's growing. You've heard me say it before. Today is the smallest the cannabis industry will ever be. Right, and tomorrow it'll be bigger once again. But Asia as well. Outside of Europe. They're advancing. Thailand has agreed now to have THC. They're probably a year away. They were a signatory on the UN convention in '72, so they have to do the work. You take it out of the hands of the kids, you reduce the illegal, and you make the stuff safe. But they're competitive nations. Other nations will take that on. It's different in America, where the states are competitive, but it was more done from a righteous point of view than a business point of view. That this is a good medicine, and that's why you have these 50 different countries in America. But they'll become aligned. And I look forward to the day when we can, cross state lines with high quality cannabis.
Yeah. Oh, like that isn't happening now. Wink, wink, right? I mean, come on, right? We all know it is, but let's make it official, right? Let's actually have a crop, maybe even a commodities market at some point, a future of cannabis.
Let's legalize it. Let's stop the bullshit. It's
Yeah.
time.
Sure.
Once they make the decision, it's still going to take time, but let's make the time to use the time appropriately. It's time.
Absolutely. And speaking of time, it's Friday afternoon at 4:20-ish. It's usually when we take our break. Terry Booth, thank you so much for joining us again. You are welcome on this program at any time. And I'm going to I'll work with Sasha on this, that grower that you mentioned, to see if we might be able to get them on our Calling All Growers show, which I think you'll enjoy.
Good stuff. Yeah, he would contribute in a big way. He's a character and a half. Mr. Natural, Bob Luciani.
And I remember Mr. Natural, the cartoon. Okay, so that dates me at that. I understand. Terry Booth, thank you again. We're going to take our first break. As always, 4:20, we play Shanty from Jonathan Edwards. It's my thing, if you will, because when I was a kid and we were using back in the 70s, we heard Shanty, we had to go and partake, if you will. So now we're going to partake in a little music and a few messages from our sponsors and our supporters. And we say thank you again to Terry Booth from Audacious. Take care.
Thanks, Terry.
Sure. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, guys.